Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's August 26th. If your garden's looking a little sad right now, it could probably benefit from the addition of some no-fail, fantastic fall perennials. Here are some of my favorites. First, if you have a sunny, wet area, Joe Pyeweed is a perfect choice. The blooms are super tall, they're purple, and they're a favorite with pollinators. The Latin name is Eutrochium purpureum. Sedum autumn joy, Hylotelephium telephium, is fantastic this time of year as well. It's super easy to propagate. In the spring, when it starts to grow, I did this up at the cabin, I just give it a haircut, and then I simply place the clippings together in a well-drained area. I plant them as if they were already ready to go. Just stick them in the ground, and voila. You'll have a brand new Sedum Autumn Joy. I did this, as I said, up in the cabin back in May, and I just checked on them when I was up there over the weekend. And guess what? 3 brand new Sedum Autumn Joys. Love that. They're just so easy to propagate. So just give them a haircut, take those clippings, pop those clippings in the ground, and you'll have brand new plants in no time. The asters are glorious right now. You can grow New England asters from seed or from transplants. And if your asters are tall and leggy, make a note to give them some haircuts during the month of June. I keep mine cut back to about a foot tall until the 4th of July, so they get multiple haircuts all through the month of June. And then I let them be. Just like with Joe Pyeweed and Autumn Joy, the Chelsea chop keeps my asters more compact. That's the way I prefer them this time of year. The Latin name for New England asters is Symphyotrichum novae Angliae. Finally, sweet autumn clematis is in its glory in the garden right now. Its Latin name is Clematis terniflora. Throughout the spring and summer, I'm not very nice to the young vines of sweet autumn. They can act a bit thuggish, and I rip them out one by one during the months of May and June. The vines that make it to fall are the lucky ones, benefiting from my absences in the garden during the summer, weeks when I was too busy or away for travel. But while I was gone, the remaining vines make big enough strides to earn the right to stay through fall. And the beautiful blooms right now give me pause for the way I treated them in the spring. But I know my garden would be overrun if I didn't at least attempt to thwart it in the springtime, in the early summer. So if you plant it, just beware that it can be a little thuggish in your garden. Anyway, there you go. 4 no-fail, fantastic fall perennials for your garden. Here's today's brevities. Today is the birthday of Stephen McCormick, who was born on this day in 1784. McCormick was from Auburn, Virginia, and he patented a cast iron plow with replaceable parts. Inventing equipment for agriculture was something of a family activity. His cousin was Cyrus McCormick, inventor of the famous reaper. The concept of removable, replaceable parts for this plow that he created also created the need for factories to build those parts. Farmers liked the idea of only needing to buy the parts that they needed instead of buying an entirely new plow. In a little over a decade, McCormick had sold more than 10,000 plows. And today is the birthday of Edward Beard Budding, who was born on this day in 1796. Budding had been working part-time at a carpet mill. During his shift, he watched a machine remove the nap from wool, and it gave him an idea. He adapted that machine into the world's first push lawnmower, and he tested it at night to avoid curiosity and to make sure his neighbors wouldn't make fun of him. Today, in South Downs and West Sussex, England, there's the Budding Museum of Gardening, which features some of the very first lawnmowers. They were preserved and researched by an ex-bank manager named Clive Gravitt. In addition to the museum, Gravitt created a charity dedicated to budding. And a year ago, Gravitt wrote a book called Two Men Went to Mow: The Obsession, Impact, and History of Lawn Mowing. A passionate gardener with a love of history, Gravitt has helped to preserve budding's legacy. There's just one thing missing that's remained elusive: one of budding's original lawnmowers. Gravitt suspects they ended up being used as scrap during the First and Second World Wars. And today, in 1959, the state flower of Alabama was changed to the camellia. The women of Butler County had decided the camellia was a better choice than the goldenrod, which they considered a weed, and it had been officially adopted back in 1927. 20 years ago, Alabama decided to get more specific, naming the Camellia japonica the official state flower to avoid confusion with the many other types of camellia. The Camellia japonica is sometimes called the rose of winter. And today is the anniversary of the death of Dame Helen Gwynne Vaughan, a prominent English botanist and mycologist. She died in 1967. Early on, Gwynne Vaughan researched rust fungi, but she also helped form the University of London's Suffrage Society, where she was the first female professor. During World War I, she also helped form the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps. Due to her extraordinary wartime leadership, Gwynne Vaughan was one of the first women to receive a military commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire Award. The University of London recently released a lovely article about Gwynne Vaughan called Fungi and the Forces, which revealed that Gwynne Vaughan was as accomplished in the armed forces as she was in the theater of fungi. When she was just 30 years old and when she was still single, Gwynne Vaughan was selected to be the head of the botany department at the London University's Birkbeck College. She was filling a position previously occupied by David Gwynne Vaughan. Although he had left to become professor of botany at Queen's University, Belfast, the two fell in love and were married. He kept his job and she kept hers, and they found a way to make their marriage work across the Irish Sea. But their life together was cut short. Just 4 years into their marriage, David died from tuberculosis. In Unearthed Words, here's some prose from the Russian author Viktor Nekrasov. August was nearly over. The month of apples and falling stars, the last carefree month for the school children. The days were not hot, but sunny and limpidly clear, the first sign of advancing autumn. Today's book recommendation is Rachel Carson by Linda Lear. Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring, sparked the modern environmental movement. Author Linda Lear wrote Carson's biography in Rachel Carson, Witness for Nature, which came out in 2009. The book has been praised for Lear's exhaustive research and for portraying the human side of Rachel Carson's too short life. And here's a fun fact. Lear also wrote a fine biography of Beatrix Potter. You can get used copies for around $4 of Lear's book on Carson using the Amazon link in today's show notes. Here's today's garden chore. Add the peony Sarah Bernhardt to your must-have plant list for 2020 and find a spot for her this fall. The Sarah Bernhardt peony has been around since 1906, so she's already over 100 years old. She may be an antique, but she is truly as wonderful today as she was when she was named for a French actress who was enormously popular in the early 1900s, named Sarah Bernhardt. She once played the role of Queen Elizabeth. The Sarah Bernhardt peony was introduced by the world's top peony breeder, a Frenchman named Victor Lemoine. When you look up Sarah Bernhardt peony, here are the words used to describe her: double-flowered, gorgeous, very large, frilly blooms, apple blossom pink, romantically fragrant, and super large. And here are a few fun facts about Sarah Bernhardt peonies. Of the 50 million cut peony flowers sold each year from the Netherlands, 20 million are Sarah Bernhardt, so almost half. Florists love Sarah Bees. And Sarah Bernhardt was selected as the 2004 Dried Cut Flower of the Year by the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. The biologist Helen Sharsmith was born today in 1905. A native Californian, Sharsmith and her husband both received their doctorates from the University of California, Berkeley. Sharsmith's dissertation on the flora of Mount Hamilton Range of California was published as a book in 1945. 20 years later, she wrote another book called Spring Wildflowers of the San Francisco Bay Region. Her husband named a stick seed after her, calling it Hackalea sharsmithii. It's a pretty little endangered herb in the borage family. Adorably, the Sharsmiths had 2 children, a rich man's family, a boy and a girl. The boy was named John after the naturalist John Muir, and the girl was named Linnea after Carl Linnaeus. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.